welcome to Wrestling and Everything, Coast to Coast, with your host, Buddy Sotelo Esquire, and wrestling's premier photographer, Dr. Mike Lano, and our very special guest. In fact, you want to introduce tonight's guest, even though you haven't seen her in 20 years?
Well, let me see if you guys can see this picture. I happened to bring this to WrestleCon because I wanted to show. Actually, it's my shot at Dean Malenko and Sabu in ECW years before she got there. Can you even see it, or is it greened out? I hope you could.
Greened out.
Oh, it's shit. Well, anyway, Angel Orsini, who I either met shooting at the Moolah's Fabulous Moolah and Johnny Mae Young's their dojo, their camp in Columbia, South Carolina, or maybe it was later on at the first. What was it called? LPWA, Ladies Professional Wrestling Association, the Vegas reunions in the like 92, 93, 94. And Angel, of course, blossomed to stardom, ECW, everything. She's on the East Coast, and she doesn't even know. So she didn't know I was going to be here. I've got a shitload of photos to send you from that. Because were you at the Moolah thing when in Vegas when Joni Lauer was there? Was it that one?
You know, it was not that one. I was at a different one where they had a big battle royal.
Right.
Like 9.
And Psycho Sybil was there because I think you and I were talking about her. I don't know whatever happened to her. If she went on to, she probably went on to stuff, but you really went on to obviously superstardom in the last couple of years of ECW with the genius Paul Heyman, and so Angel Orsini. And do you have a new look? I've not ever seen the blonde lighter hair. I've seen the dark black hair on this photo. If I would, I'll email it to you and I'll send it to Russ. I was hoping, I was hoping that I would have gotten it on camera. Let me see if I can bring it up because here it is again. But I think this is at Moolah's. Let me see if I can enlarge it.
No, I never trained.
You didn't train with Moolah?
No, I was trained by Liz Chase, who is an original Moolah girl. And Joni Lee finished me up with the last 6 weeks.
A little bit more towards you. Yeah, there you go.
Can you see that upper picture?
Yes.
You're on a couch.
I
don't know where the hell that is.
You're on a couch.
That's probably 94, 93, 94. Can you see it?
No. I started in 96 pro wrestling. Yeah, I could see it. It's
okay.
When
you could,
it's gone now.
It's screened out, unfortunately.
I think that was the professional. I think that was the PGWA. That might have been like somewhere 97 to 99. I recognize that leopard bathing suit. But I did.
But irregardless, you were very impressive to myself and Brittany Brown and some of the many other people. In fact, if that was the battle royal I'm thinking of, Mae Weston, the original Ma Barker from the 50s and 60s, was in that battle royal. Donna Crescentello, who was a Moolah trainee. There were some major legends, but Mae Weston, was huge, and people seem to. They don't recall her and all that stuff, but she was major because she was in the first pairing of it was a male-female tag team with Donnie Fargo in like the 50s. And that just wasn't done then. And, now 2023 and things are progressing, but women still need to be in more positions of power. And I hope that's what you're doing with wrestling. Like, we're getting more diversity and all of that stuff, but I think we need to be doing more of the you go girl type of stuff and we need some female promoters, some major ones, some Tony Khans, but that are women.
Let's find out what Angel's been doing since we had her on the show about a year ago.
I'm busy. And, my mission is I am a women's wrestling evangelist, if you will. I believe that women need to have more prominence in the wrestling business on all levels, not just in front of the camera in the ring, but in production, agenting matches, not just women's matches, men's matches too. And yes, women need to be owners of federations and doing PR and media. Absolutely. I am all about that.
Let me
And
just
so
ask you quickly. Oh, go ahead. Keep going.
I say, so since last time I've been on this show, I co-founded the Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Really?
Yes.
Is that in beautiful New Jersey, or where is that?
It's not a physical place yet. Right now we're online. It's Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame.com. And the email is Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame @gmail. We have a great collection of people that are really working to grow this. And we've been doing inductions this year. Our first round of inductions, we inducted in Jazz, Medusa, and Luna Vachon.
Wonderful.
Yes.
All good friends.
It will not be long before your name is placed in there too. I know you're too humble to accept that, but you without a doubt you deserve to be in.
Let me say this about Angel to put her over, because if you remember, Sheldon Goldberg, myself, Brittany Brown, we were on Moolah's board, but Moolah, the whole purpose of this, when she and Johnny May kind of aggressively took over that group from the original founders, Penny Banner and Betty Clark and Ray Stevens' widow, Teresa Thies, who actually broke him in. She was a fantastic wrestler before Ray Stevens even started. But they aggressively took it over. But the mission of the thing, especially with Moolah, with all of the money generating things every year, was to get a Women's Hall of Fame and a retirement home going. And when they folded the LIWA or the LPW, LIWA, whatever it was, that group, and all the money disappeared, nothing happened. And so now Angel is actually making it real what, back in the 90s, what should have been done and was not. So kudos to Angel for doing that. That's great.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it because it is my mission to educate, promote, and preserve women's wrestling history. People don't know where we come from. And when women wrestlers don't know the pioneers and the context of what women had to endure just to be who they were, it doesn't serve us to not know where we come from, right? Because then we just kind of take this for granted. What we have right now in women's wrestling is amazing. Women have main evented WrestleMania. That's been, co-main event, semi-main event. Women have main evented on regular wrestling programs, many pay-per-views. And so we've come a long way. And that's amazing. But if we don't know where we come from, then we very well could lose where we are. If we just kind of lean back and lean into this and act like we still don't have something to prove. Because my goodness, we still have so much more to do. I'm sorry.
Two quick things, and then I'll shut up and let Russ talk. A lot of folks don't know that female wrestlers were touring and wrestling in Japan well before Ricky Dozan started the men's promotion. And Mae Young was part of that, and there were others. June Byers and Mildred Burke, the two Lou Theszes of women's wrestling, or Lou would be the June Byers, Mildred Burke for male wrestling. They were already touring over there before Ricky Dozan got that going with the help of Thez and Blassie and Dick Beyer. But also there was a female promoter, Ann Gunkel, who was Ray Gunkel's widow. And this was in the era, early 70s to mid 70s, territory wars. Ray died. She blamed the promotion. He died in the ring, and the promotion was at fault, the NWA Atlanta office. And she decided to take them on when he died. And for 2 years, she was outdrawing the huge Atlanta office with folks like Bill Watts and Eddie Graham co-booking. But Bill Watts, one of the genius bookers, and she was beating them. And folks like Bruno Sammartino, Ernie Ladd, and others were coming in to appear on her cards. They were male dominated. She didn't have a lot of women on the cards, but she was along with Joyce Farhat, the Sheik's wife. She was actually helping run the office and book at times in the 60s and 70s Detroit office, especially when they had the territorial with Dick the Bruiser. So a lot of incredible history that people need to learn about, and hopefully. So I'm hoping you will at some point, like the other Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in upstate New York, at various times. They've got Mildred Burke and June Byers, but for me, they're my female heroes because they could kick anybody's ass, female or male, and don't always get recognized. It's more the Moolah, who was a performing wrestler. She was not at their level whatsoever, June Byers and Mildred Burke.
No, so we are honoring Mildred Burke, of course, we have to. And we're also honoring the first African-American lady wrestlers, Babs Wingo, Ethel Johnson, and Marva Scott. And they will be inducted in this year. And we're working on trying to arrange that. That's really super important to me. Trying to have it done in a way because I want a particular person to induct those women in. The gentleman, Chris Borneau, who did the documentary on their lives, Lady Wrestlers is the name of the film that he did. He's on our board. And so it's really important for us to make their induction really special. We really want to do it in Ohio, but we really need some promoters to work with us, right? We want to do these inductions and kind of piggyback them off of a show where it's easier to achieve. That's kind of what we've been doing now, going to signings and having the induction ceremonies be a part of the signings and wrestling shows that are going on. We're a nonprofit right now. We're just a baby company, and we're just really trying to give love and honor to people who really deserve it, because you never know what tomorrow brings. We're going to be honoring several more people this year. Mike McGurk, the first female referee, we are inducting her. We are inducting Beverly Shade, right? And so we're trying to get these things done as soon as we can, because tomorrow's not promised to any of us, and I'm really want to make it special and give recognition to people who pretty much go unrecognized, but they're powerhouses. They've made a difference. I mean, we can't even fathom what it must have been like for Mildred Burke, right? To get started. Women just barely had the right to vote. And here's a woman at carnivals wrestling men from the audience.
But you know the whole story with Billy Wolf. Billy Wolf was, I think, first married to Mildred Burke, and then he was cheating on her behind her back with June Byers, and then back and forth, and then he was very abusive to both Mildred and June. So they had it far worse than a lot of folks realize. I'm thinking you should just go big. Get some kind of presentation to Tony Khan at AEW, because they don't have any Hall of Fame there. There's a go. And I can also forward you the contacts of Jeannie Buss, who basically kind of co-owns and fronts the WOW syndicated show. And there are some good minds there, like CM Punk's wife, AJ Lee. I forget her real name, but it's AJ something. And that might even fit in better with that. And you get it televised, and then you can get more contributions globally and recognition, even if you're, early on in the formation of this. But you should think go big. So that's why I first said AEW, but maybe secondarily that WOW thing. And I was going to ask your opinion of it. They need more senior wrestlers, or wrestlers that have had more than a few months training, like the Malia Hosakas in the organization, or Bambi, who is like the trainer, head producer. But they need more of them. They're not enough. And it's more of the very green women. So I think that if they had more guys that really could call matches and produce and et cetera, I think the ratings would be a little bit higher. I'm not sure if it's going to be picked up for a second season, but you guys should get in there. And Jeannie Buss owns and runs the Lakers, the LA Lakers. So, the sky's the limit financially with her.
I mean, that's a good idea. I'm open to collaborating with people, but
It's more like using their platform. They already have this existing platform, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can get all this PR, or at least have them start blabbing about your address and blah blah blah, so you can be on a little more fiscally sound footing, or get some help. They already have that platform. Why not use it if you can?
Well, what I was wondering about, Angel, is do you have any set criteria for what qualifies women to be in the Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame right now?
So I don't do that part of it. I recuse myself, because it's up to me, everybody would get an award. I love everybody. I do anything for women in this business. I have huge respect. I give everybody credit who steps in the ropes and gets in there and does it, So I'm a terrible person to have like any kind of judgment, because I think everybody's great. I think everybody's the best, because I think wrestling is all about being who you are, right? You take in the training, suck it all up, absorb as much as you can, and then you kind of translate that into the way you do it. And I just don't see that there's any way to judge that as anything other than great and awesome. Yes, do people kind of maybe blow spots or things like that, but I think that that's all goes together as part of it.
But in your mind, what makes some of these women elite? In your mind, just not saying that the criteria that you would use across the board, but what makes a woman special enough to be a Hall of Famer?
So I think you really have to exemplify being a woman wrestler, right? And so I definitely have a very strong definition of what that is, right? You have to be yourself, right? You have to be your own standard bearer. You can't be somebody who's just trying to be like everybody else. I'm looking for people who are like one of a kind. That's what attracts me to somebody's body of work, that they're, not doing what everybody else is doing. They're setting their own.
Give me an example of someone, if not to put you on the spot.
Well, she mentioned Jazz. Jazz right there is a great example. She's wrestled globally. She's trained people. She put over a ton of people and helped Impact in her time there, like a little
over a year ago. But someone who's not in the class currently that you would think maybe in the future you'd like to see in the Hall of Fame, or you just can't comment.
So I would say like Britt Baker is really like, she's doing something completely different. Think about it. She's a dentist in real life, and she brought that in to the ring. She has everybody all over the world going DMD. That's astounding. That's an achievement. You have really got to be a special wrestler to get that, right?
Okay, that's good.
I mean, I think she's really, and she has a great match no matter who she's with. So that's another thing.
She's the face. She's the face of the women's wrestling in that company, that particular company.
Right, and that's a great company for women's wrestling. I think that what they're doing over there is exceptional. I think what they're doing in general over there, the matches, I love watching their show. As a wrestler, let me tell you, that's pretty hard to do because I've pretty much seen everything. I'm an ECW original, I have seen some stuff, man. I'm almost 30 years I've been wrestling. So, but I enjoy watching their show. I'm not going to say that I don't enjoy other shows, but I'm just going to say that I enjoy watching that show. Do I know kind of what's going to happen? Yeah. But I mean, I can watch any wrestling show and pretty much tell you what's going to happen because I know where it has to go psychology wise. But if you can keep me watching your match, that's pretty impressive. I mean, I do watch WWE, and I really do enjoy the women's matches in WWE. I can't say that about the men's matches. I think Seth Rollins is great. I watch anything he's in, but I don't know about everybody else.
The other question that I was going to ask about the Hall of Fame was, are you going to induct other parts of the wrestling community, like referees, like promoters, like executive personnel, and add them to the Hall of Fame too?
Yes, well, like I said, we did we have inducted Mike McGurk. We haven't given her award. We have informed her we will give her award. She is the first female referee. We also are
ring announcer. Dad was Leroy McGurk, who Bill Watts aggressively took over his territory, but she's the daughter of Leroy McGurk, a total legend. She grew up in the biz, and she was the first globally famous. I think you're thinking of the other one that just won that settlement. That was the first female ref. I can't think of her name right now, but Mike McGurk. Maybe she did ref, but she is better known as their very first ring announcer, the women's, for really any major company on the planet.
I think she did referee though.
She might have for her dad's promotion, because her dad's promotion was called Mid-Southern, and when Bill Watts kind of pushed Leroy out of it, Leroy was blind. He was former NWA Junior World's Champion, like in the 40s. He then just shortened it to Mid-South, but that's where that came from. And Mike was there. She knew like everybody from Ernie Ladd to and was it Ethel Johnson's sister? Was it Babs Wingo? It was one of the three you mentioned. I think it was Babs.
All of them were sisters. Nobody knew that. Kept it a secret.
Yeah, pretty amazing. And Ethel Johnson was, I think she was partially broken in by June Byers, who trained Penny Banner. And then those two were paired together and were like the first women's world champions, even though they were in America. But Penny chose her, and it was like big brouhaha in the late 50s, 60s because of black female with a white female. And Penny just said, F that. And it's kind of like a Sputnik Monroe for women's wrestling, and saying she wanted it integrated. She wanted to wrestle African-American people and team with her buddy, who I think broke in with her under June Byers. So that's, you're then bringing in loads of history right there by honoring somebody like, well, those three sisters.
Yes, we're going to be also honoring Leilani Kai, Judy Martin, and Joyce Grable coming up soon. But that's also in conjunction with the Tag Team Hall of Fame. We're still working that out, but that's going to happen very soon.
What's that other one? I'm not familiar with that one. This is the first time hearing about yours. Tad Dean?
Tag Team Hall of Fame.
Oh, I'm sorry. For the women.
For men and women, or just men?
Yes, it's for everybody, and
wow.
I think yes.
Oh, that's major. Let me quickly say this. Sue Green was at WrestleCon. I had to cover all 5 days of the WrestleMania out here in Los Angeles, where I am now, and I dragged Sue, total legend, who I photographed in like '73 against Moolah at Madison Square Garden. Dragged her around, and the people that I wanted to pose her with were all thrilled. And I dragged Sue up to Mickey James, and then Victoria, Lisa Marie Verone, and I was posing Britt Baker with her husband, or her husband-to-be, her fiance Adam Cole, dragged Sue Green and put her in the middle of that, etc. So there's another legend. I'm sure you're familiar with Sue Green, who was like she was a legit cowgirl. So when you're talking about people who are honestly themselves, that's Sue Green. And she was quite the star, broke away from Moolah, and then started traveling around the world with Rhonda Singh. They were like women's tag champs and singles champs in Australia and Mexico and Puerto Rico. So a lot of quality people on the women's side that don't get the recognition they deserved. And Angel is hopefully changing that. So we're, of course, talking with Angel Orsini. Is that the name that you're using now, or are you going by, what is your current wrestling name?
That's what my Wikipedia page says, so I might as well stick with it. and that's what all my social media is: the Angel Orsini, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, um, Facebook, and my website is angelorsini.net. But just to piggyback off of what you said about Susan Green, who is a very dear friend of mine, she's also co-founder of the Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So we have Susan Green, Susan Tex Green, and Gary Wolf and Christopher Nino and myself co-founded the Women's Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Christopher's been on the show also. How did that all come about, though? What was the formation of all that? How did that all get started?
Well, Christopher is a very dear friend of mine. I'm one of his coaches. I don't know what he spoke about when he was on the show with you, but he is a very interesting person. He's very talented, and he and I are collaborating on some film projects. And in the course of that, I realized that he really needed mentoring. So I'm, from the last time I was on here, I've been developing Elevated Living with my best friend, Joy Nash. And Christopher is kind of benefiting from that curriculum. I'm coaching him and helping him overcome some anxiety and life has been changing abruptly for all of us. I think we as human race have to acknowledge and understand that it's okay for these changes. We're going to be okay. And, we're in it together. We're not alone. And we have each other to lean on. And so that's what Elevated Living is about. And so I'm just putting that into practice. We're very close to launching that program. We had a serious problem about distribution. And so that's what kind of delayed us. And also, I have a full-time regular job in project management that's IT related. And so sometimes I go through these periods of time where I'm working like 16-hour days to fix something that's broken or to meet a deadline for a project. And, other things outside of my regular job have to be put on hold. So they get pushed back a little. But
go ahead.
I think, this is a good start. It's a little bit out of order. I thought Elevated Living would go first, but we did this first.
Now, are you originally from New Jersey? Did you move there later in life?
No, I'm pretty much grew up most of my life in Jersey. And then I moved to Florida as a young teenager, I think maybe I was 20. And then I got right into martial arts and wrestling and boom.
Then how did you get started at ECW? How did that all come into?
So strong style was always my style. And I guess because of my MMA background, I always was unorthodox, and I was wrestling men. That got me a lot of heat, which some people really didn't like it at all. And but ECW loved that stuff. Jazz was already there wrestling Jason Knight. So I was wrestling Atlanta doing hardcore style against the guys, and I gave Tommy Dreamer my tape, and I had given it also to oh my God, what's his name at WWE? Kevin Kelly. And Kevin Kelly and all of them over there, they were like, you should just go to ECW. So ECW, they thought of an idea for me. They brought me in to do to manage, to be a part of the tag team tournament. and I was there with Simon Diamond and Johnny Swinger, and then I broke off into my own little group with the Prodigy, Tom Marquez, and Bill Wiles, and was wrestling some of the guys. So it was pretty cool. Went through Flaming Table on hardcore.
Oh.
Where did the name Prodiget? Is Prodiget like the female? Nowadays with cancel culture, you would just be called Prodigy, but you were Prodiget, which I think was like the female equivalent of Prodigy. Tom?
Yes, because originally, if ECW had been able to continue, I was going to be a tag team with the Prodigy, Prodiget. They were going to call us the Wonder Twins because I don't know, somebody thought that was cool. And, yeah, I was down for it. I was really looking forward to it, but
now I had known. I don't mean to interrupt. I'd known and like Napolitano and Apter and I had seen Paul Heyman as a little kid, and then he kind of became a teen, and we posed him for those photos with Blassie and Albano and the Grand Wizard Ernie Roth. We had little idea he would become this brilliant mind, and you saw him, well more than I did, and I was able, the times I was out on the East Coast and stuff. To like photograph and hang when he give those pep talks pre-show, like the very first pay-per-view, what year it was, 97, that they'd go on and do a lot of incredible ones. But when you see him now with all this incredible booking, whenever I talk to Bully Ray Bubba, who you knew from ECW, I go, like, the guy I'm always watching for his reactions is like the writer creator Heyman. When he's on camera, the whole story is like being told through his expressions and stuff. So what do you think if you watch any WWE, this Bloodline stuff? He's just brilliant. He's like the best, part. And thankfully Hunter, if he's still in charge, I don't know, but it's allowing Heyman to do his thing.
I mean, it is brilliant. He's the wise man because he's a genius.
But now we need a wise woman. We need a wise woman too.
Absolutely. Well, I'm the revelation, so that's kind of the setup there. Hello, if you're listening.
Yeah, no, it's so tell me, when ECW got absorbed by the WWE, did you feel like you could be a part of that scene, or was it then something that you were like, okay, I got to transition to something else? Was that what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I was ready, except for I got in a car accident and I was paralyzed on half of my body.
Yeah.
And it took me
years
to come back. Yeah. Couldn't even walk. It was horrible. It was terrible. I lost everything. A lot of my memorabilia got lost because what was happening, nobody knew this, but from about like 99, I was on the road full time. And what I did was I didn't have a place to live. I was living out of my car and I would have storage areas. I'd use the family farm in New Jersey. I had a storage in Florida, and that had a storage in like Ohio, so that I would, have access to my stuff. And then I could switch things out and keep like posters and T-shirts and stuff like that in these places. And then I could repack, go back out on the road. And when I got in that accident, I lost everything. There just finally got ruined because I didn't save anything, and just very poor planning, young, following my dream, and walking it out by faith. And it was definitely the valley of the shadow of death for about a year. But I retaught myself how to walk, and thankfully I have like a level of discipline with health and fitness that I could, recuperate and do it. And because I was so poor, I just, it was bad. It was very bad.
How did you really, what was an inspiration to get you to turn things around and be able to withstand the incredible journey of rehabilitation? So I myself fell and broke my hip in 2016 and also had to relearn how to walk. And You know, I was on a cane for a year and a half, and I can't think of a time in my life that was tougher than that time. So what got you through that whole time frame?
So I gotta say, Kevin Nash, when I was just starting in this business, I met him in Atlanta and I asked him for advice. And he told me his story about how he blew out his knee as a professional basketball player and then wanted to get into wrestling, got into wrestling, and then blew out his knee again. And he thought it was over. And he just walked me through his story, and he just inspired me, like, really in my soul when he told me, it's like, as an athlete, we have to leave it all on the court or leave it all on the ring. We can never walk away thinking that we have a regret or that we didn't give it all 100% of all that we are. Right. And he said, that's my advice to you. And no matter how hard it seems, don't ever give up, because the only way you don't get there is if you give up. And he said, and he just told me, you know, about how much pain he endured. And so when I was in the hospital looking up at the ceiling, the doctor telling me, you're never going to wrestle again. You know, it's over. You know, you'll be lucky if you can walk again. And I was just like, and I was crying. I was inconsolable. I was there by myself also. And then so while I was looking up at the ceiling, all of a sudden, his words came to me. You know, you can't give up. You have to try. You'll regret it the rest of your life if you don't give it 100%. And that's what I did. And some days, let me tell you, taking steps like this much of a step and that much walking was a victory. You know, and tears would come down my face. The pain was, I had so much nerve damage. I had nerve damage from my neck all the way down to the bottom of my foot. It's like everything on this side of my body. When they showed me the x-ray of my body, it looked like a shark with no teeth bit me. Had like bruising all the way into my lungs and into my organs. The impact, because I got hit on the driver's side of the door, was just, it was bad. I was blown up. Like, I had so much inflammation. And that's really what the cause of all my pain was. So then I started studying nutrition about inflammation and what are some anti-inflammatory things that I could eat and how could I change my diet to lose this fluid really quickly in my body. And so elevated living was born out of that, because the things that I'll be teaching people, a lot of that stuff I learned from that experience firsthand.
It's really an incredible story, and obviously shows how you're able to go from that situation to what we see behind you, which is now just turning into what seems to be a beautiful sunset on the Jersey Shore.
Yes, a lot of hard work, but don't ever be afraid of hard work. That which does not break you only makes you that much stronger and smarter. And for the things that you want to have in your life, you need some wisdom and you need some strength, because it's not a straight line. It's like this. So you have to be strong mentally, emotionally, and physically. Yeah.
Now,
Angel,
Angel,
I'm just texting Taz that we're talking here and reminding him of you. But also, before I forget, I used to come out to the Jersey area to Dennis. I don't know if Dennis Coraluzzo, if you remember him or were around. Okay, yes. Because he would. He rest their soul. Yeah. What a character! Only in wrestling type character. Him and like Fat Gino Moore, those two partners in. You know, I don't want to say in crime, but they were just real characters. And for example, like I'd go out there, Dennis would fly me in to shoot like all of his things as he got really progressively bigger and bigger. And then when Eddie Gilbert died, it was his favorite worker. He had the Eddie Gilbert annual tribute weekends. But when I'd come out to shoot Joel Goodhart's TWA, which was the precursor to ECW, Dennis would insist I stay at his house for that. And I go, why? I could stay at a hotel. It was a good guy. And even though he was his arch enemy, and later Todd Gordon, when Joel kind of farted out, and that was the end of TWA in early '92. And then Todd took it and transformed it into Eastern Championship, which became ECW. Then the war was on. But I say that because both of these guys have passed, but Dennis and Gino Moore had told me, after the Shane Douglas thing, the double cross on Dennis's NWA, they went to ECW Arena during a big show that I was at but had no knowledge, and slashed, I think, Heyman and Tommy Dreamer's tires on that. They both copped to it and all of that stuff. Tommy remembered it when I saw him 2 weeks ago. But anyway, but it's only in wrestling, those kind of wars. I saw that everywhere. We had that kind of a war in Northern California with the two promoters, and it probably wouldn't have happened had Shane Douglas not thrown down the belt, trashed. But that was like trashed the NWA. But that was the birth of ECW, from Eastern Championship to Extreme Championship. But so I have so many fond memories of where you're living now. And before I forget, too, a guy right in your area who loves history and all of that. He has a great promotion. He does all these wrestling conventions. Is Tommy Fierro. So I hope you bring him your idea, and maybe if you try Tony Khan, if you try WOW, the syndicated show that is basically David McClain and the owner of the Lakers, Jeannie Buss. But I'm sure Tommy Farrow's could be in your back pocket too. He's a great guy and always ready to help preserve wrestling history.
Yeah, I have to talk to him some more. I met him a while ago, and I have to follow up with him.
I just bring that up because he was a protege. He and Mark Coraluzzo, Dennis's son, grew up together, and Dennis mentored Tommy, and now Tommy's a big promoter doing all of these things. Some of the biggest autograph signing weekends, to help everybody make money of anybody on the planet. And to see, Dennis's roots, it really pained me when we lost Dennis and when we lost Gino. Two great guys, again, wonderful people. They really were. And now to see that being carried on, I think Mark does stuff in wrestling, and definitely Tommy Fierro's a kingpin of wrestling. He's constantly on Busted Open Radio. So I'm going to put you also in touch. If you've never been on Busted Open with Dave LaGreca, that's the biggest wrestling radio show in the world. Dave LaGreca hosts it. Bully Ray, Tommy Dreamer from ECW, the co-host, along with Mark Henry and Mickey James and Thunder Rosa. So he's finally added two, and he's added a third one.
Those are two names that you might want to save for the Hall of Fame later, Mickey James and Thunder Rosa.
Later, I mean, they're still going. So, this year we gave Wrestler of the Year was Camille, the NWA Women's Champion.
Wow.
She is amazing. And so is her husband. They're phenomenal. So she's really set an amazing standard for women's wrestling.
She came through Bubba, Bully Ray's Team 3D Academy. I think the husband did as well. Camille, and So all of your ECW comrades are contributing to the biz. And Bully has a major school, one of the best in the world. But that's where Camille came from. What a great, amazing wrestler, too, for Billy Corgan.
And we'll both stick up for our pal Sarah Del Rey to get a vote in the Women's Hall of Fame as a trainer. She's been incredible for NXT and the WWE, and I was in the same initial class with her at APW when she was starting out as a valet, and she would just load off and clock me on the side of the head because she didn't know how to distance her slaps. So I would always call her Sarah the Stiff. And she'd use me as her personal punching bag for hours on end.
She was potatoing Russ. Yeah, covering her career.
Her money, let's be honest.
No,
So
she's like the Billy. She's a really phenomenal trainer, and doesn't get all the credit. Really, WWE should be putting her more on camera. They do with some of these docus, but she really needs to be singled out and celebrated for all she's contributed all these years.
and she's a super nice
Well,
person.
I was supposed to wrestle her, and then they freaking signed her, and I didn't get to have that match. And I had always wanted to wrestle her.
She's great.
I got to wrestle Becky Lynch, but this is before anybody knew who she was. And I will say, and I have wrestled like everybody, everybody who's there or was there, I've wrestled pretty much. And I would say she's the best girl wrestler ever that I wrestled. Sure.
Oh.
Like the easiest thing to do. I was like, wow, you are like so amazing.
So I'm sorry.
Hurt really, really bad. And I thought they told me that she was gonna, this was after I worked with her. She was doing a tour in America, and yeah, they said that she got hurt really bad and probably would never wrestle again. So I'm so glad that she is where she is, because she is super phenomenal.
Now, I also wanted to because we're getting close on time here, and I know it's getting late out there on the East Coast too, and you've got your beauty sleep to catch up on, which I don't think you need much of because you look fantastic. I just got to say, you've been looking wonderful. But if people were interested in your program, in the wellness program, how could they get more information about it?
I would say, hook up with me on social media and my website. Things are right now in the process of getting updated, and we've figured out our distribution problem. But we have to reshoot all of our content. So that's what we're focusing on now. I'm thinking like 2 to 3 months from now, it'll be released. We have a lot of stuff done already, like vlogs or podcast type of programs, but then we're going to be launching like a for real big show that's going to have guests on. It's going to be a little bit of everything. You're going to work out with us. You're going to do meditation. You're going to learn about meditation. You're going to get some cooking tips. You're going to hear a success story from some amazing people. And some of them are going to be wrestlers and fighters and boxers and, actors and just all around amazing people going around changing the world for the better. And so I would say hook up with me on Facebook. My website is angelorsini.net. And all my social media is The Angel Orsini.
That's great. Yeah, no, when you completely run out of guests, we're available. Mike and I are available. When you completely.
Well, no, on a more serious note, Angel, too, because Howard Stern is big into meditation. I've actually booked a couple of guests on there through Gary Delabate. I'm going to put you in touch with him. So don't leave when we shut the show off. I'll get you some contacts. But I think there's another platform for you, too. You could go in there with that. But if you choose to promote all the other things you're doing, like the Women's Hall of Fame, etc., because they do, particularly with Fred Elephant Boy Schreiber passing away, they're talking about wrestling every day because Fred Dennis Corlew would have him come to the shows because he was a big celebrity on Howard Stern, but he'd have him, even though Fred had that awful speech impediment, he would like ring announce. And he absolutely loved wrestling, as do most of Howard Stern's Whack Packers. So you have but the meditation thing is big, and that might get you on Howard Stern, and then you can take it from there.
That'd be awesome. So Elevated Living, the website is not completely completed, but it is up. There's some videos that are missing, but the website is elevatedliving.life.
Elevatedliving.life.
Yes.
And when you are ready to do your next big launch, we'd love to be included. You're welcome to come back on here and to give it a full push and tell everyone more about it and what they can do with it. It sounds fascinating. I think both Mike and I think that there's a lot that can be done with it, and that it sounds like a really great all-around program. Now, what else do you have planned for your future other than the Hall of Fame? And it sounds like you got a lot going
Well,
on.
let's let her plug anything and everything else.
Absolutely, that's where I was headed.
Another really awesome thing that I'm a part of is the New England Music Hall of Fame. And New England Music Hall of Fame is having a big event September 30th. You can go check out their website. They're going to be doing a huge induction ceremony concert. It's in Massachusetts this year, and it's very exciting. I'm not intricately involved in it, but as a co-founder, I definitely want to see it succeed. The long run, we wanted to develop entrepreneurial business type of classes for musicians to kind of educate them on how to give longevity to their career, because a lot of musicians end up like wrestlers where they play their whole life and then they don't have anything when it's time to retire and they can't play anymore. So that was something on my heart that I want to contribute, because music is the soundtrack of our lives. And whether you're going through good times or bad times, music is always there for you. And these musicians are pouring out their souls, and I'm so grateful for everything that they contributed to my life to inspire me and keep me enthusiastic and positive during the down times that I want to contribute back to musicians. So this is their first big event, and I'm really hoping to help make it a success.
Well, we would like to be part of that too. So you have any information on that, you can always promote it through our our Facebook site. You can post a link to it there. We're really glad to have you on this week. It seems way too long since we last had you on here, and it's really great to see your smiling face again.
Thank you. I'll definitely love to come back, and I'd love to have you guys on the Elevated Living Show, because everybody's got a story and everybody's got wisdom and something to share with other people from their experience. We don't live in a box. We're always, connected with other people, and it's important to share that information with other people. Part of the ageism stuff is because older people need to be willing to share with younger people and mentor younger people to be that inspiration, that role model, to show them the way that they can't imagine that there is through the darkness of their, unknown future. But we've navigated our way, so we definitely have stuff that we can share, and it's important to do that. And I definitely always want to be a channel for that.
Those are wonderful thoughts.
Awesome.
Great thoughts to end on. Thank you so much for being our guest this week, and I was glad that we could do it a little earlier so we could catch the sunset. It's been beautiful watching the sun change from bright to dark out there, and you're just in a wonderful spot right now. So it's great to see you again, and we'll have you on again soon to promote some of your other stuff, including.
And don't go anywhere as we close too. So hang on when the show goes off. Just hang on for about a minute, Angel.
All right,
you got it.
That's it. Yeah, that's it for this week, everyone. We'll see everyone next week.
Combate Kurosai.
Good night.